list, Senator. Senator Black, Ontario.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is for the government representative in the Senate. First of all, congratulations, Senator Gold, to you on your appointment in this position, and I do look forward to working with you and your colleagues as we go forward. In Canada, we've been long burdened with unnecessary barriers to interprovincial trade. Our provinces and territories often function in silos, which limit the ability of our agricultural industry to reach its full potential. In the most recent election campaign, the Prime Minister campaigned on a promise to reduce internal trade barriers. The Standing Senate Committee on Agriculture and Forestry also made calls to address this issue in our recent report on growing Canada's value-added food sector. One example that comes to mind is barriers different trucking regulations, causing trucks to have to stop between provinces to change tires. Does the government have plans to implement recommendations of the Agriculture Committee, the report, and address these inconsistent laws and regulations across the provinces in order to allow our Canadian agriculture to flourish?
Senator Gold.
Senator, thank you very much for the question. I appreciate the question in many ways, not the least of which is that as an old school pre-charter constitutional lawyer, to talk about interprovincial barriers to trade and federalism, you make me feel very much at home, as I otherwise do in this chamber. It also gives me an opportunity to report to the Senate that which you already know, that the Senate reports, the work that we do in committee, is not only well respected by Canadians, often cited, as our former colleague would remind us, Senator Baker, 4 times more in Supreme Court decisions than the House of Commons. But one of the most gratifying things since I've taken on this position, and indeed became a senator, was how many times members of Parliament, members of the Cabinet, congratulate us as a Senate for the quality of the work we do. I have been advised that the government is very much aware of the Senate committee report, and I'm further advised that the government is looking and considering very seriously those recommendations, and as you would know, working towards the best ways to work collaboratively with the provinces to put into place measures to lower these interprovincial barriers to trade. It is easier to move things sometimes across countries in Europe than it is in Canada, and we've all experienced that in our lives when we do or are tempted to do certain things from one province to another. And most important, or equally important, I want to remind senators that removing interprovincial trade barriers was specifically identified in the mandate letter of Minister Freeland, and she takes this responsibility, as she does all others,